at a situation, it's looking at the way that you think and the way that you feel about something and using that as a gauge point to help make a decision.
All right.
Good job. Our timer of the day is Dale. Would you please describe your light duties?
Hi, I'm very introspective. I believe the examined life is worth living. And today I am going to be practicing timing. I will keep track of the time, the green light for when it's time to start wrapping up your speech. Yellow, get on with it, and red, your time's up.
All right.
Our table topics master mistress is Lori. However, I am looking at the clock, and sadly, I do not think we will have time for table topics today. Speaker number 1 is Paul from Calvin.
But I have some great introspective questions.
He will be evaluated by Brian Norris, but this is not a book speech, and I believe the speech is mainly to share his experience and help us grow as Toastmasters. Paul moved here for work, so he is one of those that had a goal and happenstance that things just kind of worked out for him. He is retired but busy. He's been married to Evelyn for 49 years. He has 3 grown children and 4 grandchildren. His hobbies include helping his children and adults grow. He hosts international exchange students and then travels around the world to visit them later. He has been enthusiastically involved in Toastmasters since 1983. He is giving us a 8 to 10 minute speech titled Things I've Learned from My Friends in Toastmasters. Please help me welcome Paul.
Actually, it started off with some things I learned from my friends in Toastmasters, but that's way too big a title. I want you to do something very different today. I want you to take this evaluation form, turn it upside down so that you're looking at this side, and then think introspectively as I share with you some things I learned from my friends in Toastmasters. Think about what was the first table topic question that you had. I remember that question. Walt Duvall of Coach Toasties asked me, what are the rings of Saturn made of? I stood up and said, I don't know, and I sat down. Then he said very succinctly, crumbled Roquefort cheese. I mean, I learned a lot of things in Toastmasters. After I'd been gone from Toastmasters 3 weeks, the membership vice chairman, Anna Easley, called me and we talked because I had been absent after a speech I gave, but an evaluation that was part of it. Anna's quote that I share with you is, speech evaluations are sometimes more about the evaluator than they are about the speaker. It changed my relationship with them. Delight Capfer of Toledo said, listen for the emotion as well as the facts. We had a speaker who was a young woman who wanted children and her husband did not, and she stood here and cried for almost all of her time there. Edna Abbott, who was the first woman Toastmaster in the men's group, said, sometimes listening is all that's needed for the relationship. Then I have a bad story to tell. I didn't realize until my father came to Toastmasters and watched all of us give our fun little talks. At the end of the meeting, he was asked, what do you think of this kind of thing? He stood up and said, you're all liars. That's when I realized how little humor my father had. And so I had to learn it from you guys. Membership Vice President Lisa Noah of Tuesday Noon Toastmasters taught me this phrase: Toastmasters is all win-win. And she's right. I got so brave later on that in 1998, I mentored a group of Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, and the first meeting I asked them not to talk, just stand on a chair facing everyone else on their chairs below you, and just rest your eyes for 5 seconds on each person in the audience. For 60 seconds, an interminable time for a third grader. But it was the third graders who came up to me afterwards and said, I worried about what everybody was thinking about me until I realized that it was more important of what I thought about myself. Third graders. Janet Harrison taught me you only have one chance to make a first impression. That's why I'm the first one to the door to shake a hand when somebody who's a stranger comes in. And I had the audacity to teach my boss, city manager Don Davis, the phrase, all communication is relationship, building, maintaining, or destroying. Then we had Bobby Litton, who, when given the table topic, Bobby, have you ever kissed a frog? This was her response. Ladies, we've all kissed frogs. There wouldn't be any princes without us. From Linus Osis, who was grammarian of the day, said, congratulations, Paul, you are the winner of the Wizard of Oz award. I used that Wizard of Oz brick in my trash can so that I was sure that when the trash can tipped over, all the trash got out. That was the best use of that brick I ever saw. Marisa Litz, the doctoral candidate, said, one ocean, one atmosphere. Said it all. Then our friend Dave Kaufman said, well, after telling a story about being in a boat where a water moccasin fell in and Dave jumped out of the boat into the water. And the guy in the boat took out a pistol, shot the water moccasin, took a little peg, put it in the hole so the boat wouldn't sink, said to Dave, you know, there are a lot more water moccasins in that water. Yeah. And there's a lot of latent learning. Now, I don't see your pencils rapidly walking across your pages about what you learned in Toastmasters, but that's what I want you to think. I don't need an evaluation process. Latent learning takes place up here. I learned to organize my thoughts as if this speech is organized. I learned to memorize lines like in a play. And so I got on stage, and now there are other people in this group get on stage. What I learned from table topics is how not to just answer the question, but also smith the question. And you can smith the question and use it in a job interview or cocktail party or whatever. It's a smithing the right question, maybe everything. And then what I learned from Walt Duvall, of course, was you can obfuscate, especially if humor is more important than the real answer. The best one I ever heard, the best question I ever heard was, what do you do with camels? And it was a new member who got up and answered. Communication, and he was waxing eloquent. So now, what have you learned? Now it's audience participation time because I just see anybody want to share right now any quotable quotes? There be none, you will be squirming in your hands. Yeah. Oh, Lori.
So one thing I love about this club is the camaraderie. And I will never forget Lyman's talking about his brother who was dying and his clear frustration that his brother insisted on smoking and drinking heavily. And we were all in tears with him. And the fact that he was willing to share that and felt that this was a venue is so powerful. I don't know of any other group of friends I have that provides. We laugh, we cry together. It's wonderful.
So what's Toastmasters done for me? Well, now I lead and follow 3 different adult spirituality study groups. I sing in my choir. I've been on stage doing roles and parts, and I dance. And I teach church traditions and spirituality to 7th and 8th graders. Wednesday nights. What a thrill. Parting shots. We have become friends because we have trusted each other's kindness. We have improved ourselves and each other through Toastmasters, and that's been our goal. So I'm going to close this with a little blessing that I learned from my, at that time, 4-year-old grandson who was going to a Quaker preschool. Do the gestures with me. Hands, hands, hands. Thank you, Lord, for hands. Food, food, food. Thank you, Lord, for food. Friends, friends, friends. Thank you. Wow. And Toastmasters.
So Paul had requested that we write introspectively what we've learned from Toastmasters instead of an evaluation. So I will give you a second to do that. And while we do that, I will talk about where I went and how I got there. After graduating college, I kind of forgot I needed a job. And I was ill prepared to find one. And at the time, of course, we didn't have all the social media we do now. We didn't have all the wonderful job sites. I had no idea what I was doing. And I applied for anything that had biologist in the title around the entire country. And I remember one that appealed to me was in Hawaii. I always wanted to go somewhere warm. And at the same time, I saw one in Alaska. I had never considered moving to Alaska. I'd never even really thought much about Alaska, but it was just a snap decision. Let's go there. And that was how I ended up in Alaska. And I thought it would be for a year, maybe 2. Turned out to be 11. And I do miss it. I miss it still, but I don't miss the cold. I'm still chasing that sunshine. So, shall we move on? What was the time for Paul's speech?
9 minutes, 45 seconds.
Thank you very much. And unfortunately, since we do not have time for table topics, I am going to hand it over to Brian for the evaluation of Paul's speech.
Wow. How do you evaluate that speech? Love how you got our attention, telling us to do something, getting us involved with the speech right from the very beginning, saying, all right, take these, turn them over, and I want you to do something. That was a very nice way to get us involved. Very commanding presence here, completely controlled the lectern, moved around, perfect gestures. As far as eye contact, you were looking at each person, and you were asking questions, and you were talking and giving great examples. If you are giving a speech and you want to give an example, that is an example that Paul did, as far as being able to give specific examples. And as he's giving those examples, he's looking at each one of us. It almost seemed like you were wanting to impart a message to each individual about what you learned and sharing that experience that you have that was very personal, was very touching to each of us. Great variation in your voice, for effect 1983. Let's see, I was 1983. I know, you're getting ready for this, aren't you? 1983, I had graduated. I was in the military at that point, not quite married. So I was out roaming the world while you were starting Toastmasters. As far as anything I could give you to improve upon, not really, other than I'm looking forward to being able to work with you at going over to the senior center. I know that you're not going to be here as much in the mornings, but we would very much appreciate having you here whenever you can. Please make sure that know that you're welcome to come here anytime when you want. And with that, I'm going to give the lectern. Here you go. To return it to you.
Dale, do we have a time for the evaluation?
2 minutes, 51 seconds.
Oh, thank you. Perfect. So there I was in Alaska, enjoying the scenery and the nature, but not enjoying the cold winters. And so I knew there had to be a what's next. Alaska wasn't going to be my forever place. But I had no idea where I wanted to go. I had no idea where the jobs were. I didn't know what I was going to do. Could I transition to a slightly different field? In 2006, I got an email announcing the Western Groundfish Conference in Newport, Oregon. And I thought, I want to go to that. I couldn't think of an idea for my division to sponsor me to do it. So I took a vacation to come to a professional conference. I paid the fees, the flights, the hotel. I was all in it. And I came down here and I thought this was a beautiful place. But what really did it was that there was a dinner at the aquarium one evening. And it was spectacular. They dim all the lights. And you're sitting there at this beautiful table, and I was looking at the rockfish tank, and of course you're with a bunch of professional biologists, and so the chatter around all the aquariums and the tanks was just right up my alley, and you didn't hear all the silly comments you hear when it's open to the public. People calling sea otters sea lions. I mean, it can be bad. And so that to me was just absolutely magical. And I was also trying to network and, that thing that I've heard about that I'm terrible at that scares the pants off me. But I was trying very hard. I wanted to meet the people that were down here and see what opportunities there might be. It took me a little while, but in 2011, I saw a job in Newport, Oregon. And I thought, well, I liked it then. I'll probably like it now. And I applied, and I've applied for other jobs, and most of them go nowhere. Perhaps I get to an interview, but then it goes to someone else. But this one I actually got. And so I decided I had to be here. So it was part goal, but part happenstance that this job had opened. And that's how I got to Newport. So now I would like to unmute Avital, because I'm hoping to get a grammarian's report.
Yes, but I am a pretty anal grammarian counter. I have this nice spreadsheet here, and you can see there aren't tons of dashes on the spreadsheet because you all have been doing a wonderful job. I wanted to just bring up two things to watch out for. One is when you're beginning your speech, and the other is filling in the space between thoughts. Often when we begin speaking, some of us like to use so. Then in between thoughts, some of us like to use and. This is a reminder that you could take a breath in that moment, and you just don't need that filler there. Everything flows just fine without that. Krista, I liked how you said Paul is retired but busy. It was good, concise use of words. Paul, crumbled cheese with a Saturn ring. We've all kissed frogs. You said a lot of fun things. So if you want to know specifics of your accounts, you can just contact me. Or, you can catch me at the end of the meeting before we turn off the Zoom. Thank you.
Sounds like I might have a lot on my sheet. But we continue to learn, correct? So that is why we are here. So thank you, Avital. So now I'm thinking forward. So I'm here in Newport now, but what's next? Because I still feel like this isn't my forever place. Or is there such a thing? Maybe if life is a journey, for some of us, that journey actually takes us to different locations. For other people, they might be fine staying in the same place and still taking that personal journey. But I think I feel more like a wanderer. So I think, well, where do I want to go? I like to have a geographic location to focus on. But honestly, there's something wrong with everywhere else in the country. I think about Newport, what I love about it is a more moderate, temperate climate. Not as warm as I would like. But it's certainly, we don't have snow right now. And of course, the rain has taken this lovely break. We've got these beautiful green, lush forests. And this is such a dog-friendly place. Not just that it's socially acceptable to have your dog in many places here, but the temperature allows you to bring them almost anywhere. You don't have to worry about them overheating in the car. That wind blows through when you're on the coast. And so that makes it pretty wonderful, because I think about moving somewhere warmer. How could my golden retriever that pants once it gets 70 tolerate Orlando, Florida? And then how could he ever go anywhere? I could never bring him anywhere. You know, where could he run free? There's way too many dangerous things in Florida compared to here. We know how to deal with bears. I don't know how to deal with poisonous snakes. So I think about all these different places, and I just keep coming back to here. So who knows? Maybe this is my forever place. Maybe I will be here in another 30 years, hopefully as Toastmaster again. We will just have to see. With that, I will close my comments and hand it over to the General Evaluator, Laura Lee. Will you please help me welcome?
I think with our new technology, the meeting went pretty smoothly for having some technical and physical difficulties with our webcam. And I would like to mention that we have 4 members online with us right now. And right now, apparently, Avital is the noisiest. Because it focuses on whoever has the loudest amount. But we have been growing, and it's been very nice to see a lot of people here in person as well as online. And for our speech evaluation, I think it was a very appropriate and a very nice one. And I'm definitely going to miss Paul at our meetings because you have been here since the very start for me. And and you were the first person that I actually met when I came into our Toastmaster meeting, and you helped welcome me. Even though I was this annoying student that was taking over all of the meetings because I had class and was giving all my speeches all at once. I did 5 speeches in a matter of 3 months, and we had to rearrange everything. But it's been very nice to have a nice variety of people and to be able to learn from all of you. And for our meeting, I think it was nice having Grammarian for the first time online. I think it worked pretty well, even though we didn't have anything here to remind us of the word. I think we'll have to work on that to have it written and presented here. But I think it worked very well to have it online. And I think the meeting went very smoothly and on time. So, or you can end 4 minutes before, well, I'm ending 4 minutes before. I got 4 minutes. Yeah.
Well, I do think think that the word of the day was perfect to have that introspection. And I still want to know everyone's story here. How did you get here? Why do you stay here? And are you going anywhere? So it just has me thinking. So there might be some speech ideas in there. I would love to learn that information. And I also will mention, so 1983, I was 6. Not to rub it in, but you had brought up the mark of 1983. So thank you all for a wonderful meeting. I am going to hand it back to our president. Thank you.
Thank you. 1983, Laura Lee wasn't even born. Or over a decade later. Everybody had a chance to sign up for what they would like to do. Okay, let's look at next week. Lori Whitecamp, you are a Toastmaster. Dale will be giving our first speech. Julie, I'm looking at the camera. Julie will be an evaluator. Avital will be speaker number 2. Krista will be the evaluator. Lee, grammarian. I will be table topics. Maybe I'll use your, how did you get here? So that way we can have, so think about a 60-second to a 2-minute, 180-second quick, how did you get here? Diane will be our timer, and Avital, looking at the camera because I keep wanting to look over here, will be our general evaluator. And with that, anything else that we need to say before? Yes, Brian.
Speaking of Avital, didn't I hear on the internet that there was a volcano that erupted in Bali?
Yes.
So a couple of weeks after she was there.
Yes.
Wow.
What influence she was.
Just as I predicted. I said it's gonna go after I leave, not while I'm there.
Well, fortunately, it doesn't happen while you're there, so Seal Rock is safe.
Yeah, don't.
Don't leave. Yeah. You'll never be able to move. Well, thank you, everybody. If you want to say goodbye to all of our online folks. And Avital, if you want to raise your hand and lower it. Ready? Lower it. There we go.
I noticed that on the internet, sound actually travels faster than light. Sometimes you can hear the words before you see them out. So that's an interesting thing from the internet.